Rachel pulled into the storage facility just after dusk. The last smear of sunlight was fading behind the industrial buildings, casting long shadows across the empty lot. The metal roll-up doors of each unit caught the amber glow of the overhead lamps, flickering slightly from the cold wind rolling in. Her boots crunched over gravel as she stepped out, the air sharp with the scent of oil and wet concrete. The place smelled like rust and dust, quiet except for the soft hum of a nearby highway and the occasional creak of settling steel. She wrapped her coat tighter and unlocked Unit 117, the metal groaning as it slid up. The interior smelled stale, like cardboard and forgotten fabric. Rachel hadn't been here in months, but knew exactly what she needed. As she began digging through an old plastic tote, the sound of another car pulling in behind her echoed across the lot. She glanced up briefly, noticing a pickup truck backing into a unit just a few rows away. Nothing unusual at first, until she saw the man step out and look straight at her. The man gave her a quick nod and turned back to his truck like he was just minding his own business. Rachel tried to brush off the tight feeling building in her chest and went back to digging through the bin. Her fingers were cold and stiff as she rifled through old sweaters and snow boots. Behind her, she could hear the truck's tailgate slam shut. The sharp, metallic thud echoed across the lot louder than it should have. She glanced over her shoulder. He was still there, just standing by the back of his truck, not moving, just staring at something inside the bed. He didn't look busy anymore. He looked like he was waiting, trying to ignore it. Rachel pulled the bin out onto the concrete and knelt beside it. Her hands fumbled through layers of winter gear as her ears strained to catch any sound over the wind. Somewhere nearby, one of the overhead lamps flickered, humming like it was struggling to stay alive. She could hear gravel crunching slowly now. Not fast, not heavy, just deliberate and steady. She looked up. He was walking toward her with something in his hand. She stood quickly and tried to act casual, wiping her hands on her coat. He stopped a few feet from her and held up a small black object, her car key. He smiled like it was nothing at all, said he saw it on the ground behind her car and figured she might have dropped it. Rachel's stomach flipped. She hadn't even opened her bag yet. She thanked him, trying to hide the shake in her voice, and took the key from his hand. His fingers brushed hers and felt too warm, too deliberate. He didn't leave right away. He just stood there a little too long, like he expected her to keep talking. Then he turned around and walked back toward his truck, slowly and silently. Rachel grabbed her things and slid the storage unit door shut as fast as she could. The metal clattered down and locked into place with a cold snap. Her boots crunched as she hurried across the lot, eyes locked on her car. But something felt wrong. The fence that normally stood open at the lot's entrance was now sealed shut with a thick silver chain. Her heart thudded against her ribs. There had been no click, no rattle, nothing. It had been open when she drove in, and now it was chained closed from the inside. She turned around fast. The man's truck was still parked, engine off, headlights dead, but he was no longer behind it. He wasn't anywhere she could see. The wind had picked up now, whistling between the rows of metal doors. It rattled something loose in her gut, the kind of sound that told her to move, to run, but she didn't want to make noise. She moved slowly toward her car, scanning every row, every door. Her hand tightened around the key. Her breath was short and hot in her chest. She made it to the driver's side and reached for the handle when she felt something shift behind her. Not a sound, just that horrible sense that someone was watching her from too close. Her hand flew to the door handle. Locked. She pressed the unlock button and threw herself inside, slamming the door shut and jamming the lock again out of instinct. The interior light came on, and for one brief second, she saw movement outside her window, a shadow pulling back into the row beside hers, silent and smooth. Rachel's hands were shaking as she shoved the key into the ignition. The car stuttered once before turning over. Headlights flared on and lit up the front gate, glinting off the chain like it was mocking her. She gripped the steering wheel and stared ahead, trying to think, trying to breathe. Behind her, the darkness between the storage rows swallowed everything. Rachel's pulse roared in her ears as she stared at the chained gate through her windshield. Her fingers clenched the wheel so tight, they ached. The engine hummed softly in the stillness, like it didn't understand the urgency. She flipped her high beams on, and the storage lot lit up like a stage. Rows of cold metal doors stretched out in either direction. Nothing moved, no sign of him, but her gut screamed that he was still there, not far, watching. She shoved the gear into reverse and backed up slowly. Gravel popped under her tires. She turned the wheel hard and aimed the headlights between the rows. The light swept across empty units and cast sharp shadows between the buildings. Then it hit something, a flash of a figure just beyond the last row. For a split second, she saw his outline, shoulders hunched, a pale face that didn't flinch in the light. Then he stepped back out of view like he'd been waiting for her to spot him. Her breath caught in her throat. She jerked the car forward and drove fast toward the gate. The chain clattered against the bars as she slammed the brakes. Her headlights lit the metal links in sharp detail, thick, wrapped tight. No way she was getting through. Her eyes darted to the side. There was a narrow gap between the fence and the office building. Barely enough room for her car to squeeze through. She cranked the wheel and started to inch that way when she heard it. A thud, heavy, close, on the passenger side, then a sharp click like fingers tapping the glass. Her head snapped toward the sound. He was right there, inches from the window. His face blank and calm. His hand moved slowly, dragging something down the window. The sound was sharp and metallic. Her eyes dropped, a crowbar, rusted and worn. He didn't speak. He didn't shout. Just stared through the glass with that dead expression like she was already his. Rachel screamed and threw the car into reverse. The tires kicked up gravel as she swerved back, trying to turn around. He moved fast. Way too fast. He slammed something against the back of the car. A loud crack rang out. The rear window fractured in a spider web of broken glass. She didn't look back. She floored the gas and shot down the middle row between the storage units. The metal walls passed by in a blur. The car scraped something on the side, but she didn't stop. Up ahead, she saw the exit gate again. Still chained. No time to think. She hit the brakes just long enough to aim the car straight at the fence. Her heart pounded like a drumbeat. She screamed as she floored it. The front bumper slammed the chain with a loud crash. The car bounced back, but the chain snapped loose and clattered to the pavement. One more push, and she was through. Rachel kept driving, past the lot, past the empty road, all the way to a gas station nearly 10 miles away. She parked under the lights and locked the doors and sat there shaking. Her rear window was cracked. Her hands were red from gripping the wheel. Her throat felt raw from screaming, but she had made it out. Barely. Rachel didn't go home that night. She sat in her car under the fluorescent lights of the gas station until the sun rose. The buzzing from the overhead signs never stopped. It filled the silence with a sharp static that scratched at her nerves. Every time the doors swished open behind her, she flinched. At one point, she thought she saw a pickup truck roll through the lot. Same color, same shape, but it kept driving. She told herself it wasn't him. She needed to believe it wasn't. When the police met her at the storage facility hours later, the chain was gone. The lot was empty. No truck, no tools, not even the broken glass. Just the scuff marks on the pavement where her tires had dug in. They said the security camera facing the row had been out for weeks. The others were angled away. No usable footage. The unit next to hers was registered to a fake name with a disconnected number. She filed the report. They promised to follow up. She never got a call back. Weeks passed. Rachel stopped going out at night. She changed her routine, canceled her lease on the storage unit, but something kept her up. The feeling that nothing had really ended. She would check the back seat of her car 3 times before getting in. Every time she passed a pickup truck, her chest tightened like a vice. She started carrying a knife in her coat pocket. She started sleeping with her bedroom window locked even during heat waves. Sometimes she dreams of that face, not in her memories, but outside her window, pale and still, just watching, not moving, not blinking, like it is waiting for the moment she forgets. Rachel never figured out how he got her key. She never learned if he had followed her there or if he had been waiting long before she arrived. Some nights, she still hears the soft tap of metal on glass, even when no one is outside. Jared stepped off the plane just after midnight. The terminal was quiet except for the hum of cleaning machines and the soft roll of suitcase wheels on tile. His eyes were heavy from the red eye, and his phone battery hovered at 3%. Outside, the air was thick with exhaust and the wet chill of recent rain. Steam rose off the pavement where the shuttle buses passed. He pulled his hoodie tighter and opened his rideshare app, but the screen glitched and stalled. That was when a silver sedan eased up beside him. The window rolled down and the driver leaned out with a calm smile. Said Jared's name like he knew him. Said he was here to pick him up. Jared hesitated for a second before stepping toward the car. The man behind the wheel looked ordinary. Mid-30s, baseball cap, calm voice. Nothing that screamed danger. His phone screen was frozen anyway, and the man had said his name without a pause. Jared opened the back door and slid in. The interior was clean but cold. The seats smelled faintly of some cheap citrus spray, trying to cover up something mustier underneath. The windows were tinted darker than usual. As the car rolled away from the curb, Jared caught his own reflection in the glass. He looked tired, blurred, disconnected. At first, everything seemed fine. The guy made small talk, asked where Jared was headed. Jared answered without thinking. Home was about 20 minutes out. He leaned his head against the window and tried to relax, but the city lights started disappearing faster than he expected. The highway they took wasn't the normal one. There were fewer cars, fewer streetlights, more trees and long stretches of dark. He leaned forward and asked if the driver had changed the route. The man smiled and nodded, said there was an accident ahead. Quieter roads were better this late anyway. Jared nodded and sat back, but something gnawed at him. He opened the app again, still frozen. The battery dropped to 1% and the screen dimmed. He tried to plug it into the car charger, but the port didn't work. Dead wire. Nothing. The air in the car felt heavier now. The vents blew warm air that smelled like burnt plastic. The driver stopped talking. No music, no GPS voice, just tires on damp asphalt and the steady hum of the engine. Jared glanced at the rearview mirror. The driver wasn't looking at the road. He was staring straight ahead with a blank expression, like the ride was already over in his mind. The car passed a dark gas station with boarded windows. Jared said something about needing to stop and use the restroom. The driver didn't respond, just kept going, faster now. Jared shifted in his seat and tried the door handle. It clicked, but didn't open. He tried again. Same sound. Locked. His heart thumped once hard, then again faster. He checked the child lock. No sign of it, just smooth plastic, seamless and cheap. Then the driver reached down and held something out behind him. A small bottle of water. No label, sealed cap, but sticky on the sides like it had been in his glove box for too long. Jared took it without a word and set it on the seat. His hand brushed the fabric and it felt damp. He looked down and saw a faint outline of something pressed into the cloth, like a knee print, or a body that had been curled up there. He started talking again, rambling about traffic, about how he might be better off getting dropped at a gas station. The man didn't answer. He didn't blink. He made a sharp right turn onto a gravel road lined with trees. No signs, no lights, just darkness pressing in from every side. Jared's fingers trembled as he reached for his phone again, but the screen had gone black. His reflection was gone. All he could see now was the shape of the driver's eyes watching him in the rear view. Not curious, not friendly, just waiting. Jared's chest felt like it was being squeezed by a vice. The gravel road twisted through dense woods that seemed to press closer with every turn. The branches reached in like arms clawing at the car. The headlights barely touched the trees before the darkness swallowed everything again. The driver still hadn't said a word. His hands gripped the wheel tight enough that Jared could see his knuckles glowing pale under the dash lights. Every bump on the road jolted Jared's spine. Every dip made the seatbelt tug across his ribs like a warning. Jared forced his voice steady and said his friend was tracking his ride. Said someone would be waiting for him. The driver's face didn't move. His eyes flicked up to the mirror, once then back to the road. Jared reached into his coat pocket and slipped out his dead phone, held it in plain view like it meant something. He faked a conversation, spoke louder than normal, gave fake street names, described fake landmarks. He kept his eyes locked on the mirror. The driver's jaw tensed. His foot eased off the gas for a second, then pressed back down. Then the car slowed. Not stopped, just slowed like something had shifted. Jared looked around. No houses, no buildings, just woods on all sides. The road turned again and opened into a clearing. Empty, silent. A single rusted trailer sat off to the left. No lights, no noise, just a shadow of a structure slumped in the dirt. The driver turned toward it. Gravel crunched louder under the tires now. Jared's heart slammed against his ribs like it wanted out. He unbuckled and leaned forward, said he was going to be sick. The driver didn't respond. Jared twisted the handle again, still locked. He leaned over to the other door. Same thing. His fingers scraped against the glass as he looked for anything. Then he saw it, tucked into the side pocket of the door. A small knife, just the handle sticking out, probably forgotten, probably not meant for him. Jared grabbed it fast and shoved it under his leg. His breath was shaky now. He waited. The car rolled to a stop near the edge of the clearing. The driver sat still, hands still on the wheel. Then slowly he turned in his seat, eyes locked on Jared. No expression, no hesitation, just stillness like he had done this before. His hand moved down toward something near his leg. Jared moved first. He lunged forward and jammed the knife into the soft part of the driver's arm. The man screamed and flinched sideways. The car jolted as Jared yanked the door handle again, and it finally gave. He tumbled out onto the gravel and ran. The trees blurred past as branches whipped at his face. He didn't know where he was, didn't know where the road ended. He just ran until his legs burned and his breath came in gasps like glass in his throat. Behind him, he heard the engine rev, tires spinning on loose stone. Headlights cut through the woods in sweeping arcs. Jared dove into a ditch and stayed low. Mud soaked through his jeans. Bugs crawled across his neck. He covered his mouth with both hands and waited as the lights passed inches above him. The car crawled forward, then stopped. The engine idled, then it reversed. Tires shrieked. Dust rose, but it didn't stop again. After another minute, the sound faded. Jared didn't move for a long time. When he finally crawled out of the ditch, his hands were shaking so hard he could barely stand. His legs were scraped raw. His ears rang. But the clearing was empty again, and the car was gone. Jared eventually found a road hours later, just as the sky began to lighten with the faintest trace of dawn. A long-haul trucker pulled over and called it in. The cops came, took his statement, drove him back to town. They nodded a lot and said it sounded like a carjacking, said it was good he got out when he did, told him he was lucky. He agreed and smiled, but the words didn't feel right in his mouth. Something about it all felt unfinished, like he had left something behind out there in those woods, and whatever it was might come looking for him. Weeks passed, and Jared kept checking the rideshare app. No trip history, no record of a pickup, No driver profile that matched the man's face. He gave them the license plate, but they said it was registered out of state and hadn't pinged in weeks. The last place his phone had logged data was the airport parking deck. After that, it went silent. He changed his number, switched rideshare accounts. Still, he kept feeling that car pulling up beside him at random corners. He'd flinch when a stranger said his name too casually. He'd wake up some nights convinced headlights were glowing through his bedroom window. He started locking his doors twice, then 3 times. Sometimes he'd hear a low hum outside his apartment around 2 in the morning. Not loud, just enough to remind him of that idling engine. And sometimes when he walked past parked cars, he would glance inside and see nothing. But every now and then, a rear-view mirror would tilt ever so slightly. Not enough to be sure, just enough to keep him looking back. Jared never learned how the driver knew his name. The car was never found. The route he took never showed on any GPS. Sometimes at night, his new phone lights up with a rideshare notification from a trip he never booked with a destination he never gave. Sam had just started her 2nd semester at college and had picked up a volunteer shift at the community center downtown. The place was old but welcoming, smelled like paper bags and bleach. On Saturdays, it was quiet enough to hear the hum of vending machines and the scrape of folding chairs on tile. She mostly helped pack canned goods and hand out meals. That afternoon, she was paired with a new volunteer named Tom. He was older than the rest, mid-40s maybe, soft-spoken, said he lived nearby. At first, he seemed helpful, polite. He didn't say much, but when he did, he looked her straight in the eyes and held the look a little longer than normal. The rest of that Saturday shift passed without much issue. Tom worked quietly beside her, occasionally offering to carry the heavier boxes or help reload the supply shelf. But every time Sam looked up, he seemed to be watching her. Not openly, just little glances that lingered a beat too long. Once, when she bent down to grab a dropped can, she caught him staring, and he didn't look away fast enough. He gave a small smile like he knew she had noticed. She smiled back out of habit, then turned away and kept busy. Over the next few weekends, Tom started showing up every shift she worked, always assigned to the same corner of the room, always early. He brought coffee for the group once, but made a point to hand hers to her directly. His fingers brushed hers just long enough to make her stomach tighten. He started asking little things, whether she lived on campus, whether she walked alone or drove, what she studied. She gave vague answers and tried to stay polite, but the questions didn't stop, just shifted slightly each time. One night, she left her shift late after helping clean up. The parking lot was empty except for her car and a dark blue sedan idling at the far end. The engine purred low, its headlights were off. She walked faster and unlocked her door but didn't get in right away. She watched the car in the reflection of her window. It didn't move, not until she drove off. As she turned onto the street, she glanced in her mirror and saw the sedan pull out behind her, with its lights still off. The next week, she told the volunteer coordinator she was feeling sick and needed time off. They said no problem. But 3 days later, she saw Tom outside the dining hall on campus. He wasn't wearing the volunteer shirt, just standing by the bike rack like he had somewhere to be. She ducked inside fast and waited it out. When she came back out, he was gone. Things kept piling up. One morning, she found a sticky note on her dorm door with her name written in neat block letters. No message, no signature, just her name. Later that night, she got an email to her student account from an address she didn't recognize. No subject, just an attachment. She didn't open it. She deleted it and shut her laptop. Her roommate was out of town that weekend. The silence in the dorm felt heavy. 2 nights later, she went to the library around 10. The upper floors were nearly empty. She found a seat by the window and tried to study, but something felt off. She kept seeing the same reflection in the glass. A figure just behind her in the row of shelves. When she turned around, no one was there. She packed up and left early. The next morning, her friend sent her a photo. It was taken from behind. Sam crossing the quad with her backpack. The message just said, "Looks like someone's watching you." Her friend hadn't sent it. It came from an unknown number. No contact name, no reply, just that single image. Crisp and clear, like it had been taken up close. It was close to midnight when Sam stepped out of the dorm bathroom and felt it. That thick pressure in the air. The one that wraps around your chest and tells you something is off before your mind can catch up. The hallway was empty. The lights overhead buzzed faintly like they were straining. Her door was cracked. She clearly remembered closing it. She stood still for a second, listening. Nothing but the low hum of vents and the occasional creak of old building bones. Her hand touched the wall as she moved toward her room. Slow, quiet. She pushed the door open gently and peered inside. Everything looked the same. Her backpack was on the chair. Her laptop was still open. Her window was locked. But the closet door was shut, and she never shut it all the way. Her heart kicked once hard. She stepped back into the hall and pulled out her phone with hands that barely felt like hers. She typed the number for campus security, but paused. What if she was wrong? What if it was nothing? Her thumb hovered over the call button as she stepped back into her room. She walked to the window to make it look casual. Her eyes flicked toward the mirror on the wall and caught something. A shape, faint and wrong. The reflection showed the closet door moving. Just enough. She turned fast. The closet door creaked open, and for a second nothing happened. Then a hand reached out and pressed against the frame. Tom stepped forward. Not rushed, not angry, just calm. His shirt was different, but his face was exactly the same. Pale, focused, like this moment had been played out in his head 100 times already. He spoke softly, said her name like it belonged to him, said he just wanted to talk. Sam backed up and grabbed the first thing she could reach. A ceramic lamp. She held it in both hands and shouted at him to stop. He kept stepping closer. His eyes didn't blink. His smile never broke. He reached into his coat pocket slowly and pulled out something small. She threw the lamp. It shattered against the wall inches from his head and made him flinch just long enough for her to move. She ran. The hallway was empty. Her bare feet slapped against the cold tile. Behind her, she could hear him stumble once, and then the rush of faster footsteps. She turned the corner and ducked into the stairwell. Her body slammed into the door, and she pushed it closed with everything she had. She flew down 2 flights without breathing. She burst through the lobby door and kept going until she hit the grass outside. By the time campus security arrived, she was shaking in the arms of a resident assistant who had been walking back from the laundry room. The stairwell was empty. Her room was empty. No sign of forced entry, no camera footage, no proof. Just a single sticky note left on her desk, folded once. Her class schedule written in block letters across it. All correct. Every time. Every room. Every professor. Sam never returned to that dorm. She moved to a different building across campus with her roommate and started taking different routes to class. She kept her curtains drawn even during the day. Her professors gave her leeway for missed assignments after hearing what happened, but nothing official was ever filed. No record, no arrest, no name attached to the report. The community center claimed they had no volunteer named Tom in their files, said there must have been a mix-up, said maybe he was with another program, maybe just helping out, maybe nothing at all. But Sam kept finding things. A scrap of paper under her new door with her old locker combination written in the corner. A photo tucked under her windshield wiper showing the back of her head walking through the student union. She changed her number again, deleted social media, started carrying a pocket alarm in her coat. Some nights she would wake up certain she had heard breathing, not from her roommate, not from outside, just inside enough to feel close. The kind of sound that disappears when you sit up but stays under your skin for hours after. She once found a footprint outside her bedroom window in the frost, bare, Not from a shoe, not hers. She started double-checking everything, making sure her schedule changed week to week. But still, she felt it. The weight of eyes in a crowd. The sound of a phone buzzing from a number that vanishes after one ring. And once in a while, when she passed the main quad near the community center, she thought she saw him, sitting quietly on a bench like he belonged there, like he never left, just watching, always watching. No one ever confirmed who Tom really was. His name never showed up in any volunteer database. His face never appeared in security footage. But someone still knew Sam's routine. Someone still walked just close enough for her to feel it and never be sure.